By Bill ChambersThu, November 23, 2017. Last week, Bob Rae, Canada's Special Envoy to Myanmar, visited Rohingya refugee camps in Bangladesh. A Special Envoy's job is usually diplomacy. He didn't diplomatic. He ed angry and appalled at humanity's capacity for depravity. A week later, I am walking the same teeming dusty tracks of a makeshift city of 620,000 that didn't exist 3 months ago. Just east of Cox's Bazar, on 3,000 acres of steep choppy hills, that in July were forest and home to wild elephants, has sprung a community the size of Scarborough. The government of Bangladesh and many humanitarian agencies have done an impressive job of organizing the response to this crisis. Much more will be required, however, if we are to avoid a second wave of death from diseases like cholera that are bred in overcrowded areas without sanitation or clean water. Surrounded by uprooted people, 60% of them children, I'm here because my organization, Save the Children, is providing humanitarian assistance, medical services, food, building material, kitchen kits and safe spaces for children to play and to regain some semblance of normality. Save the Children is also helping to give voice to the children who pass through our care. Some soldiers took me and 2 other girls into a house. They hit me in the face with a gun, kicked me in my chest and stamped on my arms and legs. Then I was raped by 3 soldiers. They raped me for about 2 hours and at some stage one fainted. This horrendous account comes from 16-year-old Shady Baber and all names have been changed. She is one of the thousands of vulnerable Rohingya girls desperately escaping torture, rape and murder. Child survivors and their families have come forward to share their stories so Canadians and the world will know the horrors they have experienced. Stories of children killed and maimed. Stories of children seeing their parents murdered. The experiences of the Rohingya are those of our nightmares. Save the Children's new report, Horrors I Will Never Forget, shines a light on what children have experienced and fled since the surge in violence in Myanmar on August 25. This displacement has happened at a speed that the world has not witnessed since the 1994 Rwandan genocide. 24-year-old Rahima revealed how she had witnessed a woman and a baby being burned alive. I saw a soldier pour gasoline over a heavily pregnant woman. Then he set her on fire, she said. Another soldier ripped a baby from his mother's arms and threw him into the fire. His name was Sahab and he was not even 1 year old. I will never forget their screams. Tales like these explain and more than justify Mr. Rae's anger. Canada has called for an end to gross human and child rights violations in Myanmar, the need for accountability, and greater humanitarian assistance. As we see still more desperate children flee across the border, my colleagues on the ground are working around the clock to reach every last child. It is clear this is not a short-term crisis. The mental and physical scars could last forever for these children unless we respond now. International Development Minister Marie-Claude Bibeau is here this week to assess needs and gauge Canada's humanitarian response to date. Canada can play a valuable role by leveraging its feminist foreign policy to address the rights and needs of women and girls. The approach must be multifaceted. Canada must ensure women and girls have direct access to all elements of the humanitarian response, ensuring not just their survival but their dignity. At the same time, given the patterns of UAL violence that Save the Children and others have documented, Canada should continue dedicated support to the recovery of women and adolescent girl survivors. In addition, Canada should work with other nations and use its diplomatic influence in Myanmar and beyond to ensure that perpetrators are held accountable. Finally, there must be sufficient funding to support children's recovery, including medium and longer-term protection and education needs. The camps of Cox's Bazar are squalid, but in their way, impressive. The Rohingya living there are impoverished and often malnourished, but they are also resilient. After all, it is largely their labor, resolve and ingenuity that have built a Scarborough-sized community in less than 3 months. With more than half of all displaced Rohingya under the age of 18, this is a children's emergency. My lasting image from my visit is of a group of 5 8 to 10-year-olds who had built kites out of sticks and garbage bags and were trying to catch a breeze off a hilltop for them to soar. Children, who despite the horrors they were forced to face, find a way to still be children. Bill Chambers is President and CEO of Save the Children Canada and board member of the Humanitarian Coalition. You can help by donating to Save the Children Canada, a member of the Humanitarian Coalition. The government will match your donation until November 28.